Hey everybody, I have two corrections and apologies that I need to issue. The first is for my Catholic homies, and the second is more general but still has to do with Catholicism. And the first relates to a recent video I published on the Apocrypha, where I talked about its nature and its origins and its status within Protestantism and within Catholicism. And regarding Catholicism, I said that it is known as the Deuterocanon there, and that the Deuterocanon has secondary or subordinate authoritative status. And a bunch of folks reached out to me to correct me on that, because that is entirely false. That appears to be based on an assumption that I have been making for years as I've listened to Catholic scholars talk about the Proto-Canon and the Deuterocanon. I've always assumed that their relationship was hierarchical, and it turns out it is chronological. The Proto-Canon refers to the canonical books that were received first within the church, most directly from the Hebrew Bible, from Judaism. And then the Deuterocanon represents the canonical books that were secondarily received into the church, primarily through the Septuagint, the books that are known as the Apocrypha. And so I apologize for misrepresenting Catholicism and their position on the canon. I've stated before, the last thing I want to do is presume to speak on behalf of groups that I don't represent and of which I am not a member, and that includes Catholicism, and so I apologize to folks out there for misrepresenting Catholicism. And the second correction I have to make has to do with a recent episode of the Data Over Dogma podcast, where we talked about James, the brother of Jesus, and what is known about him, and also other figures from the New Testament known as James. And part of that included a brief discussion about how the name James derives ultimately from the Hebrew name Jacob. And we talked about other names that are a part of that process of evolution, including Iago and Tiago and Giacomo and Santiago, and I said San Diego. And that also was an assumption that I have made, because that name has no etymological relationship to Jacob or James or any other names within that process of evolution. The city of San Diego was named after a Catholic saint who went by the Latin name Didacus, and he was known as Didacus of Alcalá, which is in Spain. And in Spanish, that name comes through as Diego de Alcalá. And so in the 16th century, he achieved sainthood, and he became San Diego de Alcalá. And so the city of San Diego is named after him. So I want to thank the individual who reached out to me to correct me on that false etymological friend. I apologize for that error as well, and I will strive to do better in the future so that I can minimize the amount of misinformation that I am sharing in public. Thank you, everybody, for your support, for correcting me, and for your patience with me. I appreciate it very much, and the fit for this video has been The Reign of the Supermen.